Greetings, Pilgrims. Welcome to another episode of the Polygon Pilgrimage, and today I'm coming at you with a recap of our 2018 Global Game Jam experience. So in the background, you'll see a bunch of footage, time-lapse footage of the creation of our project, and mostly this is going to be the modeling of our space station, sphere, Rubik's Cube, retransmission station thing. It was a pretty crazy concept, but let me talk about the entire experience top to bottom. So, if you're not familiar, this year was this was the Global Game Jam 2018. It's every year in January, end of January, and what the concept is that you have basically 2 days, a little bit more than 2 days, to create a game from total scratch. And I don't mean write your own engine; you get to use tools. But typically on Friday evening, they will announce a secret worldwide theme, and the theme for this year was the word transmission. So transmission like either a car transmission of a virus, or of a signal. So we decided to take the concept that you are an engineer working at a global, actually a deep space retransmission station, the Grand Celestial Station. Kind of a pun off of Grand Central Station, because if you're not familiar, back in the day, when you made a phone call, it went to a switchboard operator, and they would actually connect you and pull a little pin out and put it on the board to who you wanted to call. And they would always answer the phone, Grand Central Station, how may I direct your call? So the idea is that this is the Grand Celestial Station, and you are directing calls in space. Ooh, space. So the event was, to be honest, the Orlando one here was a little disappointing this year. The facility was kind of odd, in a weird place, and just kind of didn't have the same pizzazz that it's had the past several years. The people were, of course, phenomenal. These are great people, great group of people. We've been doing it for 10 years now, and I also felt like there was a bit of a gap, because after 10 years, there's no celebration of the decade mark. So that was a little off-putting as well, just kind of like a missed opportunity there. But this year, I once again had the very esteemed pleasure of working side by side with my father, Tom, and he and I had a fantastic time. We tackled a lot of crazy things. We learned that we really hate quaternions. It was a difficult experience in the sense of technical difficulty, but it was absolutely too much fun in every other way. So what we did was we worked out this concept that your space station is actually sort of a weird Rubik's Cube, and there are such things as spherical Rubik's Cubes. Our little Death Star reference there. So a spherical Rubik's Cube has these bands, an X, Y, and a Z band, and then there are these little caps in between them, and then we have the corner pieces. So this model is actually made from a sphere. From a cube. We made a sphere out of a cube. So no, it's not a perfect sphere. That kind of thing is very difficult to do in 3D without either having poles at the top and bottom of your model, or with the box method that we went, you get these kind of weird little lumps on the corners, but we smoothed it out and worked it out. So what you see me here doing now is drawing these lines which denote the paths. And the idea is that your station will receive a communique from one end, and then you have to get it to the other end. But each of the bands and the pieces in between will move and shift. And so what you have to do is reconfigure the station to connect the 2 points. And once you've done that, those 2 points can actually rebroadcast the transmission into space and complete the call that the person was making or whatever. So we had a ton of fun doing this and figuring it out, and most of the difficulty was in figuring out first how to talk about this. There's so many pieces and they're going in different directions. How do you properly explain, I want this piece to move in this way? And orientation becomes an issue when you have a sphere. So what we ended up doing was picking a focal point. Say you're staring at the front of the sphere. Then what would be the piece in front of you? What would be the next piece to it? And we ended up coming with sort of a nomenclature, or a little mini language to describe how these pieces are going to move. And we diagrammed everything on a whiteboard and figured out the math behind it. And once that was complete, we actually now had these sort of codes to figure out the different patterns. So in order to make any kind of a puzzle game, you have to first sort of reverse engineer the puzzles and figure out, start with the solution, then you kind of screw it up and then say, okay, based upon that as a solution, what is a way that we can set it up for the player so that then they have to actually find the solution. So in doing that, we discovered that quaternions are quite difficult, and rotations, and figuring out all the different permutations for things, and it's still not quite right, and that's okay. You're going to end up with what you're going to end up with. After 2 days and very little sleep, as you can probably hear in my voice, you do end up missing some things, but I think overall what we achieved in such a short amount of time was amazing, and it was so much fun working with my dad and kind of figuring out these complicated things and those little aha moments when you figure it out, or when you have something that looks just amazing. Like on the screen here, you see the satellite here that I made, the little rebroadcaster at the end. I was really happy with how it came out, and it looked nothing like how I drew the original one, but that's okay. And that just happens, and that kind of thing will occur, and you just have to kind of roll with the punches. We also had some pretty severe computer problems, which even now recording, I'm worried about it happening again. But you kind of get through it, and that's part of the process, and part of the journey and the growth is in overcoming things that you thought were insurmountable at first, and just making strides forward. You don't have to be perfect. It doesn't even have to work at the end. As it stands right now, our final product that we have available that is on the game page, it's not really much of a game. It's more of like a technical demo of what you could make a full game out of what we have here. And that's okay. That happens. And, but what we did was incredible. It was fun. We experienced a lot. We learned a lot. We learned a lot about the engine, about what it's capable of, about what it's not capable of. And then we just sort of went forward from there and said, let's make the best product that we can, and let's do as much as we can and learn as much as we can. And in doing so, we're better people for it. We also met some incredible people at the event, and to anybody whose first time this was, if this was your first year participating in a jam, I wholeheartedly congratulate you, because this is a pressure cooker of talent. You learn so much so quickly. You learn to kind of just jump hurdles on the fly. And most importantly, you'll make friends. You'll make contacts, people that will come up to you. I had people come up to me and say, oh, I recognize you from, the years past. How's it going? That's just great. You're building this community out of it. And that's one of the most important parts of the event. It doesn't really matter what you make by the end, as long as you made something great. As long as it was a great experience for you, you made friends, you made, forward progress. It doesn't even matter if the thing doesn't even run, as long as you got something out of the experience in doing that. And I think that was really awesome. I want to encourage people, if you've never done a jam before, yes, it's difficult. Yes, you're going to be tired, but, those are all things that we worry about after the fact. I look forward to events like this all year long, because it is so much fun, and it just compacts all of our passion, all of our tools, our time, our talent into a short period of time, and you're surrounded by like-minded people who are not there to say, oh, I want to make my game and I want to make sure that you fail. No, they are there because they want to make games. They love making games so much that I've seen it time and time again, and I saw it this year as well, that somebody has a certain expertise. Say they're a musician or a writer or, a background graphics artist. They make matte paintings or something. They will complete their work for their team, and they'll just go around and sit down at somebody's table and say, hey, I'm a music guy. What do you need? And they'll just help each other out. And it's such a great collaborative effort that it is, both heartwarming and it's amazing to watch. And just, it's incredible to see the amount of cooperation, and just, you can almost feel and see creativity just flying through the air, bouncing off the walls. And, by the end of the day, there are these things that we show on the screen to one another, but then to the world to say, look what I'm capable of, look what I can do, and look what we did together. And that's why it really is global. It literally is global. It's all over the world, but it sort of connects all of us. And every year I think, we come up with an idea and we build that idea, and I go, oh, I think we did something really amazing. And then you get up there and there are 10 ideas that are better than yours. I'm just like, wow, I can't believe that people came up with this. Excuse me there, that people came up with this, and that people were able to, in such a short amount of time, not only have the concept, but then to construct the concept. And then you see videos from the web, and there are people all over the world who made even more incredible things. And, it's such a great community, a great experience, and I highly recommend anyone to do it. Children of all ages, just because you're younger than most participants does not mean you are not valuable. And we had a guy who's older than me who showed up and said, "This is my first jam. I don't know what to experience." And I said, just take it all in. Just find a team and say, "Hey, I'm new, but can you help me? I want to learn. I want to see what you have to offer." And I think that's amazing. So definitely want to encourage anybody who wants to get into this kind of thing. I'm also going to be looking into doing more challenges throughout the year and just sort of see what I can find and just kind of throw my hat in and see what I can do. Maybe not quite as long, maybe not quite as exhausting, but, try to spread it out and learn and see new things. All right, so let's take a look at the actual game here. So this is the Grand Celestial Station. Got a little tagline there, welcome. And so first up, we have a little bit of a menu here. If you go to options, here we'll click that and it says, hey, there are no options. We only had 48 hours rather. So, but we do have the obligatory slider bar here that does nothing. So you can play with that. Isn't that fun? Okay, going back, we'll be on the main screen. We'll click play to begin the game. And there is a cutscene here that is about a minute long. This is a voiceover of the text on the screen. So imagine like a disgruntled DMV personnel, and they're explaining to you your new corporate position here, which is in that dry, monotone, alien-sounding voice of you're basically going to be retransmitting things for forever. And some jokes in there. And this dialogue was actually provided by a friend of my father's by the name of Brandon. So thank you, Brandon. And he had some funny little quips in there, so we threw him in there. But this is also serving as the tutorial, and it shows us how to play the game. And in the background, you can actually, we forgot to disable the scripts for the final, so you can actually kind of play the game in the background. But it explains how to play by shifting the rings and then shifting the actual spinners on the corners there to connect the signal. And in a moment here, the continue button will appear, and we'll be able to click that to go on to the actual game. So there we go. And now we're in the final game here, and again, you can click and drag to rotate the sphere, and then you click on any of the bands and they will rotate, and not all of them will rotate properly, as you see here. So again, we're still messing around with quaternions and learning a lot. And so even though it's not final and it doesn't quite work, still very proud of what we were able to accomplish. There's one of the spinners in action. We did a whole lot in a short amount of time, and that's what I'm really happy about. And here comes our Easter egg, one of many. So this is the guy from the keynote speech, and he's trapped in the Phantom Zone there in the background. So a couple of Easter eggs, UFO, you can see Sputnik, and here's the number of transmissions you would have. So we have 0 at the moment, but we do have a 5-star rating, so we're so good at our job. And so the signals would actually come into the sphere on the bottom here, and then you would have to transmit them across the surface along these glowing lines and get them to the retransmission station at the end. So that's all we have for this week, guys. I hope you've enjoyed very much. I'm going to go and get some rest finally. So until next time, keep practicing, get better, and I'll see you next time as the pilgrimage continues.